My name is Alan Dunne. I'm an author, illustrator and visual artist based here in Ireland. So when COVID hit, I saw this as a real landmark event in our lifetime. It's actually a very important moment for artists and writers and musicians to actually capture this, in ways that other people are trying to make sense of it. So with the context of the COVID-19, I kind of thought, it would be interesting to explore the idea of cures. The project that I pitched was to explore the schools collection, which was collected by school children in the 1930s. It was all to do with like local history, superstitions in the local area, landmarks, things like that. So the website for Dúchas is fantastic. I would encourage everybody to read some of the material. It's very, very interesting. So when you go onto the website, this is kind of what you might find is scans of logbooks, which were collected by the school teachers in the 1930s. And it's wonderful in that it's in both Irish and English. I really have this fascination with lettering and typography, particularly the more kind of vernacular, traditional elements of type. And the Irish language has its own particular visual appeal to me, and I just love the shape of the letter forms and the way that the Irish language was written in this particular style. So it was really, really lovely to be able to look at this archive, both in terms of what was written and the way it was written. So to give you an example, like in the lockdown affected the county that I'm in County Kildare. County Kildare was you couldn't venture further than the county border, while the rest of the country was free from lockdown. So I was kind of somewhat restricted. So I decided to focus in on County Kildare during this particular time, and I had discovered this Father Moore's Well, which was just outside of Kildare town. As well as reading about it, I decided it would be a good idea to go out and visit the site. So Father Moore as well, you can see like this is an example of where I extracted the type from the page, because I wanted to use this type of lettering from the children and the teachers of the various schools. So you'll see how I would incorporate this. So here would be a sample of the illustration I did, and you can see there that I've incorporated the lettering into the visual. Things like all the typography you see there is all sourced from original found material, and very little of it is, if any, is digital typefaces like you would usually get on a computer. It's all found. And you find there as well that I've used the type and I've chopped it up to fit into the different sections of the imagery, so that the type and the image kind of interacts, that there's this kind of symbiotic effect that's created. So the idea was that I would post this onto social media, and just to share, kind of give life to the archive, and for people to kind of read it and be encouraged by it throughout the lockdown, but also to maybe see how, like, historically we have been affected by illness, and that the idea of seeking out a cure is nothing new for the Irish, and that it actually, you see now in the media like this kind of ongoing concern about how quick can this rollout of the vaccine be. I find this is maybe some part of the Irish psyche where we were always seeking out this cure. Cures are always been in the back of our mind. When will it happen? Can we get it? And the struggle for people, and the importance it has symbolically to know that it's even there. So the idea of this well, I always kind of, wells are very, they're kind of a symbol of hope for a lot of people who are in dire circumstances. And when we went to visit the site, it's very much so a visited place still, and it has its importance to people. I kind of think with the Irish particularly, we have this a crossover between almost like a paganistic superstition and Christian belief systems. You know, people have a very strong affinity with this site. We met somebody there who said that it was a very special place for him. He was very devout to the site. This particular place was of huge significance. And we saw this sign here, leaning up against the bench, and "Do not be anxious, all will be well." And I thought it had a kind of very significant meaning, particularly with the COVID lockdown. And although the sign probably predated COVID, it sort of has this universal message for the time we were finding ourselves in. But here is the actual well. You see it there. It's just a hole in the ground, 3 stepping stones above it. The shrine there as well. You know, some information about how the shrine was erected, and you know, you see personal belongings and flowers and rosary beads and things like that. And there was this little tree, and I don't know the significance of the tree, but it was close by where the well was sprung. You see the little stream there running along the laneway, and people would, you know, put flowers, lots of little shoes. I think people were very thankful that if someone, you know, they would go down there if someone was going through a difficult time, and then if they pulled through, they gave sort of a thanksgiving. But the tree has this kind of totem effect, and I thought this was very interesting. And then this is the site of the Father Moore, the man who sprung the well, who had the gift in the 1800s of being able to cure people. So Father Moore was an interesting character in his own right. And this is the site of his home, which is just behind the well in a field. And you can see there the 4 corners of the house. So when I tried to turn the text into some sort of visual, I looked at around the era that Father Moore was alive in the 1800s, and looked at the way people wore clothes back then. And so I tried to incorporate like the storytelling, and I love this kind of the story narrative or vernacular history, and I suppose people would call it folk history. And you know, that this was a record that I was responding to, and I suppose like that's kind of like I was trying to re-energize it again, make it relevant to now, and sort of give it a new significance. And I suppose that's the crux of the idea. And I found out that there was a hat from Father Moore when he died. He blessed his hat. Before he died, he blessed his hat, and the hat is actually still in the community. There was an Irish Times article I read about a local family who have the hat still, and people can go organise a visit to see the hat, and it's supposedly cured headaches and toothaches and stuff like that. And here was another story about a fire that broke out, and the fire brigade took water from the well, which didn't quench the flames of the fire, because you know this wasn't water that was like regular water. This was kind of a very special type of water. You wouldn't use it to do things like that. And then there was a local farmer, a neighbouring farmer, who owned the field where the well was, and he would try to prevent people coming in to look at the well. So he put a bull in the field, or there was another time when he tried to fill up the well, but then his own home got flooded. So you have these kind of characters who are local legend of why you shouldn't go near the well and why the well is sacred, and if you try to stop it, something will happen. So I one of the formats I kind of figured out was that like the folklore is collected from these people who were listed, and I thought this is a lovely way to kind of credit them. So like the stories are from various different schools in the local area that I found. So they would all have their different take on the same well, and I selected elements from each of the stories and created one story, so that there's effectively like a collective of authorship on this. You know, you see there the various children who contributed stories about the well, and I've included them there if I use their story. And here's an example of one in the Irish language, and this is all about a man on the white horse. And there's this idea in Irish folklore that if you encounter a man on the white horse, he would if you ask them for a cure, he's obliged to tell you the cure and it will cure anything. And so this is a story about somebody who asks the man on the white horse a cure for whooping cough. And I was conscious that people might not be very good with the Irish language, and the people from Dúchas who are very involved in the archive, Christopher McCarthy, Concor McEgan, and Una Bracknock, I spoke with them, and they're fluent Irish speakers, and they were very helpful with the Irish language in all this project. So they would identify maybe some interesting Irish language in the collection, and they helped translate what some of it would have meant. And so from that, I was able to create the translations of these. And so you see there that I try to incorporate speech bubbles, and I'm a real fan of comics, as I mentioned before. So I try to break up the type in different ways like that, so it had kind of a nice flow to it. And so this is the concoction that this man makes. It's like it's a make-believe concoction. It can't exist. It's things like you need to drink it with this concoction with a cat's feather, or chicken milk. So there is effectively there is no cure for this ailment, but this is the cure that will cure all. So this is kind of it's very Kafkaesque in its delivery, and I find that the Irish language and Irish literature, maybe it's steeped in this kind of strange folklore. When you think of, say, a Beckett play, it's so surreal, and yet it's so familiar. And I think a lot of these folklore kind of had some of those traits, and you can see maybe how it might have inspired the literary scene in Ireland. And so I was kind of interested in that as well. I suppose I was kind of seeking out kind of more unusual stories. But from those, I posted them up on social media. You can read them on my Instagram. So I tried to kind of thematically play with them. Home remedies being one. Everyone locked in their house all day long. What could you do? So I hope to build upon what I've already done and continue this project. I think it's a real rich source of material, and I had real fun developing these. So please do check it out. And again, huge thanks to Christopher McCarthy, Concor McEgan, and Una Bracknock from Dúchas, and also the Arts Council of Ireland for supporting this project. It's been much appreciated. Thank you to you all for tuning in and joining me here for this